Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another one of our Tapping In webinars. Today is Thursday, and today we are covering part 6, accessible tourism events, how to tap into this market, and how we're actually going to look at growing it in the region. Okay, so today is going to be full of all sorts of great tips and tricks for businesses to actually tap into this market that we discussed yesterday. And as we know yesterday, there is massive potential growth in this market. It's just businesses have actually got to start taking the steps to actually jump in and do it. So that's what today is all about. Before I start, if anybody could please, no matter what platform you're watching this on, no matter whether it's live or not, whatever platform you're on there, please give us a like, chuck us a comment, share it with people. The more people that know about these, the better. Okay? But with that, let's get on. So 30-Foot Drop acknowledges the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognises their continuing connection to land, waters and community. We pay our respects to them and their cultures, and to elders both past and present. We must always remember that under the concrete and asphalt, this land is, was and always will be traditional Aboriginal land. We'd also like to acknowledge the Department of Communities Disability Services for funding this and many other initiatives like it. Without their support, so many projects such as Two Wise Monkeys would never actually see the light of day, and as a community we would be so much poorer for it. So this workshop is part of the Realities and Advantages of Access and Inclusion Grant awarded to 30-Foot Drop as part of the Information Linkages and Capacity Building Grants of 2018 to 2019. That is a mouthful. Quick bit of housekeeping. Unfortunately, we don't have the resources to monitor all of our live streams during these live sessions. So if you want to ask a question or interact with us directly, please head to www.30footdrop.com.au/live to ask your questions. Okay, on there you'll find the chat box as well as another live stream like this. So please head there, join in the conversation. We always love getting feedback. Now, look, we're going to be covering a lot of information in a short period of time, so I recommend that attendees take actions to minimise distractions where possible. Okay? And also, we're going to be recording this session and posting it. So if you want to review it, we'll be putting it on the 30-Foot Drop website, the 30-Foot Drop YouTube page and Vimeo library. So that's where you'll be able to find them if you want to go back and review any of the information, or if you didn't have time to watch it all. Or if you just have somebody that you think would really benefit from it, show them where the library is. And if you do jump on YouTube, like I said, please give us a subscribe, give us a like. These sort of things really help to get the word out there. Now, we'll be referencing a lot of research during our session today. Now, all of these sources that we reference are actually available in the 30-Foot Drop digital library. Okay, so once again, that's found at the 30-Foot Drop website, www.30footdrop.com.au, and if you go to solutions and resources underneath that, that is where you'll find it all. There's a whole load of good stuff on there, from checklists to research papers to copies of Australian standards or references to the Australian standards that are very important for all businesses and organisations to know of. And also, at the end of the webinar, we've got a short survey for attendees to complete. So please take the time to fill it out, as it really helps us. Okay, you'll find this survey at the 30footdrop.com.au/live page. And if you go down to the bottom of the page, there's buttons there that, or links that lead to the surveys. And you'll be after the survey for webinar number 6. Okay. Once again, this really helps us, the feedback. We can't improve without it. Please let us know, any feedback that you have. Okay, allow me to introduce myself quickly. I am your wise monkey for this morning. I am Ben, Managing Director of 30-Foot Drop. I am a C5 quadriplegic with post-traumatic stress disorder from my time in military. Now, I am see no evil. Okay, it is obvious that I have a disability or impairment. Okay, it is very hard to hide being a quadriplegic. I mean, the wheels attached to my butt give it away pretty majorly. I am see no evil because by the end of today, with the information that you glean from what we share with you today, you will see no evil about disability or impairment. My co-presenter Lisa, who also presents some of these webinars, she is hear no evil. She's got an invisible impairment. Okay, I'm not going to give away a story because I think it's amazing. If you want to know more about her, like I said, she does a lot of the webinars as well. She has an amazing story. But she is hear no evil because without her actually sharing her experiences with you, sharing her impairment with you, you would have no idea. So therefore, she is hear no evil. But wait, isn't there supposed to be 3 wise monkeys? You know, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil? Who do you think that's going to be? Yep. It's going to be you guys. By the end of our sessions, by the end of our webinars, when we've educated you about the realities and advantages for businesses around access and inclusion, you'll be speak no evil about disability and impairment because you'll understand who we are, why we're such an important part of the community, how we're such an important part of your business. So keep that in mind. So as I said earlier, today we are looking at people with impairment and the potential impact on your business as far as accessible tourism and events go. Okay, so how are we going to do that? How are we actually going to educate you about how to tap into this market? So it's all about how these businesses can meet the specific needs of the market. Okay? And that's what we're going to have a close look at, is the specific needs. We're also going to finish off our focus on tourism and events by having a look at the future. Okay? The Southwest and the entirety of WA has real potential to grow this market. Okay? As we pointed out yesterday, we spend a lot of money on tourism in Australia, okay, domestic trips. People with disability and impairment, we contributed $8 billion to the Australian economy last year as far as tourism experiences go. Okay, there is currently a segment of Australians who are not travelling, who are worth an additional $1.5 billion nationally per year. Okay, massive potential growth in this market. Okay, so we're going to have a look at how we can actually grow this market. Then we're going to finish off with an open forum session. Okay, where you guys can ask any question. Okay, it doesn't even have to be related today. How are we going to do this? Well, the answer is fun, experience, and open, honest conversation. Okay, that is what 30 Foot Drop is all about. We educate the community through open, honest conversations. So feel free to ask any questions that you may have. None are off limits. As I said, that don't have to be about today. They can be about absolutely anything. Now, you will notice that there is very little written content on my slides. Okay, that's because you're here to interact with your presenters. Here at 30 Foot Drop, we don't believe that death by PowerPoint is the way to go. Okay, so in order to facilitate this, I really encourage you again to head over to www.30footdrop.com.au/live. Okay, so that you can use the chat box there because it is the only one that we have the resources to monitor live. Okay, if you're watching this as at a later date as a recording, if you have any questions, please get in touch with us. Okay, you can either leave comments on the videos or you can contact us via our many social media channels that we have. Right, now before we start looking into how you can actually tap into specific needs of this market, we're actually going to quickly review some terminology. Now, we do this to ensure understanding and reduce confusion because there are certain words that we use as we're going through that are currently being misused in Australian society, and I like to try and get it straight into people's heads before we go on. So, the first one that we're going to look at is the difference between disability and impairment. Okay? An impairment, okay, is an injury, illness, or congenital condition that causes or is likely to cause a loss or difference of physiological or psychological function. Okay? To put it simply, in short, an impairment is your medical diagnosis. Okay? Your impairment is how your body differs from the norm. Okay? So, for example, my impairment is that I'm a C5 quadriplegic with post-traumatic stress in remission. Okay, that is my impairment. That is how I differ to what is seen as the normal of society. A disability, on the other hand, okay, so as you can tell from impairment just then, that's what a lot of people think disability means, but it doesn't. Okay, disability actually is the loss or limitation of opportunities to take part in society on an equal level with others due to societal and environmental barriers. Okay, it is, as the word implies, think about it, disable. Okay, it is something that makes you unable or disables you from being able to participate. Okay, so the impairment is the difference, the disability is the barrier. So for example, for me, steps disable me from being able to get into your storefront to spend my money. Okay, it is the barrier. Hope that's made sense. If not, like I said, head on over to 30footdrop.com.au/live. Ask us any questions in there. For now though, I'm going to move on to access versus inclusion. What's the difference? So a lot of businesses think of access and inclusion as one homogeneous word, okay, as one statement, but it's not. Access and inclusion are two completely different things. First up is access. Access refers to the removal or reduction of barriers, both physical and attitudinal, to participation in the activities and functions of a community. Okay? At its core, access focuses on the physical world around us. And as a result, it is a lot easier to assess than the next one, inclusion. Okay? Basically, there are checklists and standards out there that exist to let you know whether your business is accessible. Okay? Now, as we covered in webinar number 4, okay, there is a lot more to access than just having a ramp and a toilet. Okay, so if you haven't watched webinar 4, really encourage you to either book in and do a live one with us in a fortnight, or to jump back at another time and have a look at our pre-recorded version. Now, inclusion, okay, is the other half of this. Inclusion is more a psychological state of being rather than a physical world around us. So it's more internal. And it's the process whereby every person who wishes to can actually participate fully in all aspects of an activity or service in the same way as any other member of society. Okay? Now, when I say any person or every person, okay, I'm talking irrespective of age, impairment, gender, religion, sexual preference, or nationality. Okay? Inclusion as a whole is much more than just impairment. Okay? So, to me, inclusion is rocking up to a place and knowing that my opinion is valid, that people are going to listen to me, that I'm not going to just be put into a corner and ignored. So I hope that's made sense to everybody. If not, like I said, chuck it in the chat box and let me know, and I can actually try and explain it further. But for now, let's hop on over and have a look at the specific needs of the market of people with impairment in relation to accessible tourism and events. So in session 5, last night and yesterday morning, we discussed the similarities between travellers with impairment and the rest of the population, showing that there is a lot of overlap, and there is. I mean, we all like to go to the same places, we all like to do the same activities. The core needs around us when we go on holidays are very similar around relaxing, unwinding. There's a lot of similarities. But despite the similarities to the general population, there are some very important differences and specific needs, and those are going to be what we focus on today. Okay? So this is what we need to focus on as businesses and as a community if we want to increase our market share or customer base when it comes to accessible tourism and events. So, something to note, travellers with impairment have a strong tendency to manage the stresses and uncertainties of travel by returning to destinations they know well. Okay? Consequently, they appear to have a very high incidence of repeat visitation and are very loyal customers. Okay? As a sample size of one, me, I can confirm this. Okay? As a family, we tend to go back to the same spots that we know are accessible because it's really, really, really depressing when you turn up to a place and you've spent a whole load of money and a whole load of time organising this trip and turning up to the place and finding out, well, I actually can't participate in this holiday. Okay? So, in the Accessible Tourism in Victoria and Queensland report that we referenced yesterday and is available on our digital resource library, the report it found that there are 3 areas of specific need that can be used to attract this market segment. Okay? And these 3 specific areas of need are information, planning and service. Okay? These are the 3 specific needs of the market that are not currently being met. If as a business you make changes to meet these, you will attract a segment of the population that's being underserved as well as being proven to be loyal repeat customers. Repeat customers are gold. Okay, they really are. So let's have a look at information to start with. So travellers with impairment need more support in planning their experiences if they are to travel as much as they wish to, and for it to be an enjoyable experience rather than a stressful one. Okay? Overall, more detail in the information that is currently provided was the highest priority for this market, according to the research, particularly for those with limited mobility, people like me. Okay? Now, while this primarily relates to digital sources such as websites and review sites, it can also refer to the information anywhere travellers look in destination. Okay? For example, when they're on tours. Okay? At information centres within tourist areas. These places, to have more information there would be a great way of increasing the ability for people with impairment to travel. But more than just having long documents with complex information, which is unfortunately what people think of straight away when I say, we need more support and information, okay? It's much more than just having complex information and long documents, okay? What we need is information that is relevant to us, okay? So most places already have many different measures in place, okay? Let this market know by putting it on your website and having it on your profiles such as your TripAdvisor and others similar to it. Having that information on there makes it so much easier for us to actually find it, okay? That we're not going to give up and just go, it's too hard and just leave it. Okay, so it needs to be relevant. Okay, it needs to be easy to find and absorb. Okay, so this specifically relates to accessible tourism information, which is often not prominently displayed and is very complex. Okay, as we discussed in the previous session, this is in a previous session, so this is session number 3. Okay, this market of people with impairment, we are a very decisive market segment. Okay. And we are much more likely to stop a transaction if we're not getting what we need out of it. Okay, so it needs to be easy to find and absorb. Okay, it needs to be well structured. Okay, so rather than a 50-page document with all the information, look at breaking this information down into smaller logical parts. Okay, for example, one part on how the customer can let you, the business, know what their needs are. Okay, another on where exactly the access ramps and toilets are located within your business. Okay, these are 2 great examples of how to actually structure it. Okay, so that way people don't have to go searching through a massive document. Because once again, decisive, more likely to stop a transaction. The information also needs to be relatable. Okay, when choosing accommodation, attractions or experiences, include a range of images that cover a breadth of impairments. Okay, this would help the potential traveller feel that they are choosing an option that they can be a part of. Okay, if you remember back, or it might be worth looking at, webinar part 4, okay, we look at diverse marketing in there, and we talk about how to actually market to people with impairment. Okay, this would be a really good one to reference when actually looking at doing this and making the information relatable. Okay. Yeah. So let's have a look at some of the specific findings from the report. Okay, the Accessible Tourism in Victoria and Queensland report that relates to information. Okay. So when asked what the number one priority to drive accessible tourism is, the most mentioned was information provision. Okay, if you make it easy to find and highly accessible, then you increase the chances of attracting these people to your business. Okay, in order to do that, I encourage you to go back to webinar number 4 again. Okay, we go through how to make your business more accessible. Okay, in more ways than just looking at the physical access. Web access and information access are two of the main subjects in there. Really encourage you to go back and have a look. "41% of respondents wanted information contained on review sites like TripAdvisor that was relevant to travellers with specific needs." Okay. Now, when you're looking at what information is relevant for people with specific needs, there are various resources available out there. A lot of them are on the 30-foot drop resource library. Head over there and have a look. Okay, but you know, so for example, if you offer things like the companion card, okay, or if you offer discounts for carers, you know, these are major things that would actually sway the people in this market to actually come and visit your business. Okay, moving on to the next one. An item that was brought up many ideas was the idea of introducing an accreditation system that shows businesses that have made the commitment to implementation of accessible travel systems. Bit of a mouthful, but basically what this means is, at the moment, access means something different to every single business. Okay, there is no one standard to say, hey, this business has got a platinum level of access, because there's no benchmark to compare it against. Okay, so the creation and implementation of an access accreditation system would be key to allowing people to actually find this information that we're talking about. Something to think about. And if you want to know a little secret, it's something that 30-foot Drop's working on. So if it's something that interests you, get in touch. Moving on, when the respondents were asked what the priority for the improvement to this market was, okay, 86% rated the addition of more practical information as important. Okay, this includes the location of ACROD bays, toilets, access ramps. All of this practical information that people need to know in order to feel confident that where they're going is somewhere that they're going to be able to enjoy. Okay, and 83% rated an increased prominence of this information on tourism and transport websites. So as you can see, the findings of this report are all saying that information is key. In order for us to actually get out there, in order for you to tap into this market, in order for you to grow this market, we need more information to make sure that we are actually going to be confident in what we're doing. So that's information. Let's move on to the next point, which is planning. Okay. Now this is an interesting one. Okay, so people with impairment, especially those with mobility issues, have specific needs that, if not met, make visiting a business or event impossible. Okay, and I mean impossible. Okay, with all the effort and cost that it takes to plan a trip or visit, lots of research is done, and we want to, in order to make sure that the resources aren't wasted, we do a lot of research, okay? Because there's nothing worse than wasting limited resources. Okay, so in that research, 40% of respondents stated that not knowing what to expect at the other end was a barrier to travel. Okay? This highlights the benefit of more and/or more detailed information being available for trip planning, okay, at the planning stage. Okay? When you can't guarantee, it's very hard to just wing it when you have an impairment, okay, and you're traveling. Because if you're just winging it, you might end up rocking up to a town where you can't actually get into any of the accommodation. So yeah, not knowing what to expect is a barrier to travel. There is also a need for expert advice at the planning stage if you want to attract this market. Creating relationships and promoting your accessibility on platforms such as disability forums, peak bodies in the area, specialist travel agents, and even NDIS coordinators are all important. Okay? Internally, you could also appoint an accessibility coordinator, someone who is across all aspects of accessibility within your organisation. This person would be responsible for answering all access queries and creating relationships with those that are making the queries. Okay? This coordinator would also address the next point in the research, specifically the fact that the research highlighted a strong preference to connect with a business or destination personally. Okay? Getting that personal feedback, getting that personal connection happening is so important for this particular segment. Okay? This would provide a potential customer with the information in a rapid and accurate manner, increasing the likelihood of converting a sale. Okay? Now, traditional travel agents with a strong service ethic could also be important in driving the conversation, particularly for older travellers and those who have lower support needs. Okay? Many clients have low expectations when it comes to travel. Okay? There's only so many times you get let down before you're like, right, unless I'm told completely otherwise, I'm going to assume that everywhere in this town is not accessible. So this advice from traditional travel agents who have an understanding of what it is you offer could actually help create demand for new products, okay? Travellers with impairment, we find it hard to be inspired when we don't actually know what is possible, and having an advocate for the possibilities could be a boon, okay? You may notice in a lot of my stories that you see on YouTube and that I do as part of Facebook, a lot of the experiences that I have, I'm often blown away because I never thought it'd be possible. For example, abseiling down off of the Rio Tinto building in the middle of Perth, okay? I never thought as a quadriplegic I'd ever be able to abseil again, okay? Blew me away, was amazing. Having somebody who knows what is there and what is available is essential. So let's move on to the last area of need. This is service, okay? Now, whilst it is getting better, there are still many challenges with regard to the attitudes and understanding from tourism, hospitality and event staff, and those of the public towards travellers with an impairment, okay? Attitudes and assumptions can be really devastating, okay? And this is especially a challenge for younger travellers with an impairment, and for those with hidden impairments who require support in less obvious ways, okay? A great example of that would be somebody who has a form of dyslexia, okay? They require support via having the information accessible in certain ways so they can read it, okay? It's not obvious. But accounting for that and knowing that and thinking ahead and planning ahead for that will help to actually attract more people. And conversely, the quality of service by staff is a key driver for recommendation across all travel categories and studies. Okay? Staff service is king. Good staff service drives more recommendations, which drives more customers. Okay, so that is key. And now the other thing around service is that cost, okay? Cost is important for many travellers with an impairment, as many need to travel with a carer or extra equipment, which often makes the cost higher, okay? Assistance with these costs, potentially via the NDIS, if that's something that you can set up, or via special deals for those with a carer or for those who actually have need of mobility equipment and other equipment associated with their impairment, would assist with removing barriers to more travel and also has a ripple effect in regards to ethical consumerism. Okay, now ethical consumerism we discussed in an earlier session, which would have been part 4. And ethical consumerism is one of the key benefits that you will find from this particular practice. So examples of this include things like most airlines will allow mobility items and as well as things like hoists and other medical related equipment to not actually count towards your bag limit. Okay, that is amazing. Okay, it makes it so much more affordable because wheelchairs and other mobility devices and other medical equipment is really, really heavy. Okay, so that's a perfect example of it. If you have a tour company, for example, and you're able to actually take somebody in a mobility device in your vehicle, but it takes up 2 seats because of how the setup is, don't charge them for 2 seats. That'd be another example of making sure that it works. So that's the 3 main areas of improvement within this, in order to attract this market. This areas of specific need, within this market. Okay, so hopefully you guys picked up some really good tips and tricks from that along the way. If you've got any questions, like I said, feel free to get in touch with us. It's brilliant, but for now, we're going to move on to looking at growing the market within our regions, within our state. Okay? So, we've looked at the opportunities and needs of this segment and what potential we can tap into. But how are we going to grow this? How are we going to actually get that growth of $1.5 billion annually that I talked about? What needs to be done? Who needs to be involved? Okay? Look, the opportunity to grow this market is a multifaceted project in which all key stakeholders have a role to play. Okay, who are these stakeholders? Well, let's have a look. Okay, first up, we have the people with impairment, their families and carers. Okay, these are the people who will be served by this project, and having a direct understanding of their needs is critical at every stage. Okay, they should be central to every decision made, because if you try to make decisions and try to implement items without their input, then there's a good chance you're going to be putting together something that isn't going to work. Okay, so they are central to this. Another key stakeholder would be peak bodies that represent both the tourism and the disability sector. Okay, so those peak bodies, for the same reason as including people with impairment. Okay, because if they are not involved, then you may not be able to get the nuances of what is required and therefore create a system that isn't going to work. Okay, government on a state and local level to help with infrastructure would play an important part, as would the destination management organisations such as visitor centres. Okay, and the last key stakeholder is the tourism and event service providers themselves. Okay, these are all your key stakeholders that you would have to actually use in your region in order to grow this market. Okay, so those are the stakeholders. Let's have a look at the stages. Okay, now before I go any further, I want to point out that this part is actually intended as an executive overview of the stages involved. Okay, and how the stakeholders outlined before would actually be involved. This is by no means an exhaustive how-to, and I realise there is much more involved. Okay, that being said, let's dive in. Okay, so the 5 stages that would be involved are as follow. You've got consult. Okay, stage 2, inspire and educate. Stage 3, collate. Stage 4, promote. And lastly, Stage 5, build. Okay, let's have a look at these stages all in a bit more detail. Consult. Okay, stage 1. Look, this should be the foundation of accessible tourism. Okay, it should ensure that what is offered, it will ensure that what is offered is built on a rich understanding of what travellers with impairment want and need. Okay, it would also empower the people with impairment to take part in and to actually feel included. Okay, talked about inclusion earlier. Okay, they need to be central to every stage, but especially the first one. Okay, this is the responsibility of all stakeholders this stage. But government and destination management officers can take the lead, okay, as they have the resources and skills to undertake projects and research or guide others. Okay, government and DMOs have the experience in actually bringing projects like this together. Okay, so they should be central in this stage. Stage 2, inspire and educate. Okay, this is about educating and supporting the industry. Okay, this will ensure the industry has an understanding of the potential of the sector and is provided the support on how to start targeting it. Okay, for example, through webinars like this. Government, destination management officers, and peak bodies should all have a role in driving this. Okay. Further to this, more than just inspiring and educating the industry, many travellers with impairment actually have low expectations of what is available, whilst their aspiration to travel is high. The task here is to encourage them to explore and test their boundaries, raise their low expectations. Okay, as I said earlier, I never would have thought I'd be able to abseil again. Okay, it raised my low expectations by taking part in that, and peak bodies and service providers can play a strong role here, as can the individual operators themselves, by actually thinking outside of the box, working with potential customers with impairment to actually modify their services to suit, okay, and encourage them to explore. Stage 3, collate. Okay, so this is all about bringing the experiences together to provide a holistic offering in some key destinations, okay, that will help the traveller plan and navigate their trip. So rather than having the information spread out everywhere, okay, making it really hard to find, really hard to track down, having some centralised search offerings, having some centralised databases, some knowledgeable people, okay, would actually really help. And by collating all the information together, we can actually offer this. Okay. Government, peak bodies and service providers, once again, can all potentially play a role within this. Can all potentially play a role to help identify new areas of experience and product development or supporting infrastructure. Okay, governments can work within the sector in a number of ways, including improving accessibility standards in the industry and developing infrastructure that considers the complete user experience. Stage 4, promotion. Promote. Okay, so once we've got this, once we've got people providing new services, inspiring people, getting all the knowledge collated into one area, okay, into one holistic offering, the next step is to promote it. Okay. Many travellers are not aware of what is on offer. Okay. Therefore, it is important to promote what is available to generate demand. Okay. The information needs to be easy to find, well structured, and provide the opportunity to delve further for planning and to build confidence in the experience of trip. Okay. This promotion is the responsibility of individual businesses and destination management officers, okay, as well as peak bodies. Okay, once we've actually created it all, Okay? The old saying of build it and they will come doesn't work in this market. Okay? Build it, tell everybody about it, and they will come. Okay? So this is something for all of them. Now the final stage, build. Okay? Now, whilst this isn't the highest priority for now, all new infrastructure needs to be subject of ongoing focus. Okay? Ensuring that any new infrastructure employs universal design principles. It will make widening this opportunity more cost-effective in the future. Okay? Now we cover universal design in part 4, okay, of our webinar series. Ensuring that this happens will create more cost-effective opportunities in the future. Okay? This is a cross-industry responsibility. Okay? Yes, it is the responsibility of governments to make sure that there is standards, but it is also the responsibility of your infrastructure creators to follow those standards. Okay? It is also the responsibility of the individual operators to insist on these creators that they follow the standards. And it is the responsibility of people with impairment to make sure that there is a demand for it. It is a cross-industry responsibility. So I hope you guys have enjoyed that. Okay, so we've covered specific market needs so that you can get ideas of how you can actually start to tap into this market, and hopefully growing the market has made you sit up and pay attention. Okay, now we are about to take a break to do an open forum session. Okay, to allow you guys to enter in any questions. In order to do so, if you could head to www.30footdrop.com.au/live, okay, and have a look there, and enter in your questions there. Now, if you do need to go, please hop over to that same website I mentioned before, 30footdrop.com.au/live. Go down to the bottom, click on one of the surveys. It will take you 30 seconds, it's 6 questions. It really helps us out. If you've enjoyed today, please share, like, subscribe, okay? Give us a recommendation, forward us to people, okay? It's absolutely amazing. And if you've been inspired by what I've talked about today as far as growing this market within our regions, please get a hold of me, okay? Accessible tourism and events is something I'm so passionate about, okay? We have so much to offer as a state, okay? I want more people to be able to take part in it. So get in touch, okay? It is a big project that we're working on. But for now, I will give you guys until, what's the time? 11:43 at the moment. So I'll give you guys until about 11:50, okay, to ask any questions that you've got. So head on over to www.30footdrop.com.au/live and use the chat boxes there to ask any questions that you've got. Yeah, I will talk to you soon. Hopefully I got some good questions to answer, or any questions. Like I said, they can be about anything. It doesn't matter. See you then. And we're back. Okay. Look, didn't get any questions through. So hopefully you guys have all enjoyed today and that you've found it really interesting. Like I said, if you have been inspired by what I've talked about today, please get in touch with 30 Foot Drop. We would love to hear from you guys. We are, like I said, we're working on it. We're working on it. But anyway, head to our Facebook page or our Eventbrite page, have a look at some of the other events we've got coming up. The webinars start again from webinar part 1 as of Tuesday next week. Tonight we are doing webinar part 6 again. Lisa will be on. But apart from that, look, thank you very much for being here. Look after yourselves, look after each other. See you next time.